You'll know I love learning languages, but what I actually enjoy the most is using those languages. And if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that I love to learn in ways that are fun, easy, and very, very immersive. Because language learning to me is one of my hobbies, and I want to make sure that I am actually enjoying the process and not putting more pressure into myself. So I'm going to show you how to learn languages easily in a way that feels like you're doing zero effort, but you're actually learning a lot. The first way in which I love to learn languages is by watching TV series and movies and documentaries and YouTube channels. The problem with this is that a lot of people will spend a lot of hours immersing in the language but not actually learning or analyzing the language that is being used. They basically just sit down and hope to observe as much as possible. Don't get me wrong, that technique kind of works somehow, but it is definitely not the most effective way to learn a language by watching shows. What I recommend you to do is to watch with dual subtitles in your target language and your native language, and in a way that you can easily translate or get access to the words that you don't understand. A great way to do this is by using LingoPie, which is, by the way, the sponsor of this video. Both LingoPie and I agree that language learning should be fun, entertaining, and accessible for many people. What I really like about LingoPie is that they create their own content, and all of the shows come from the countries where these languages are spoken. There are many indie short films and cartoons and novellas and things like that that are culturally relevant to the language that you're learning. Currently, they have French, Portuguese, German, Spanish, Italian, and Russian. I've used mostly French and Portuguese, and I can guarantee that there's a lot of content for it. And I even learned a little bit into the Spanish one, even though it's my native language, to see what they had, and I was very impressed. All the shows are culturally relevant and many things that I would want to watch, even if it's my native language. So the content is definitely good, and the way that they teach you is definitely good as well. They have a feature for beginners called Mashup, where they will show you text in English with words in the language that you're learning, and I find it fun to start capturing these new words. And this is based on the theory of comprehensible input that says that we need to understand at least 80% of the text said in order to learn new words. So very interesting, definitely recommend you check it out. And the team of LingoPie gave my audience a 65% discount on the yearly subscription. Highly recommend you give it a try, check it out, see if it's for you. I find it very, very fun. So I was very happy that LingoPie contacted me for this video because it's certainly something that I use and certainly something that I enjoy using. The practical way in which I do this, I take aside every 2 days, sometimes to watch TV in foreign languages. I do it every 2 days because I sometimes get oversaturated by all the content in all the languages, so I can have a nice balance of having content in languages that I'm not comfortable with, like English and Italian, and content in languages that are new to me, like Japanese or French. The second way in which I love to learn languages more immersively and in a way that feels very natural is by playing video games. And even though lately I haven't had the time to play video games properly, this is something that I started doing last year and I've been loving so much. I've personally played Animal Crossing and The Sims because they both have a lot of language and a lot of repetitive language. The Sims is a little bit more advanced. Animal Crossing you can play if you're a total beginner. And I also attribute a lot of the English that I've learned to video games because when I was younger I used to play a lot of video games like on my Game Boy Color or whatever in English, and that helped me quite a lot to have a dynamic way of actually using the language, and it motivated me to learn more of the language so I can play the games better. So the way that I do this into my daily life is that I create a rule. Certain games are played into certain languages. So whether Animal Crossing is on my Switch or my phone, I will always play it right now in French. Another rule to play video games and learn languages, only playing video games that you actually enjoy. If you're forcing yourself, you're not enjoying the gameplay or the game itself, it's not gonna be beneficial to you because you're just gonna avoid doing it. In other words, the gameplay itself must be entertaining and it has to be the number one thing. If the language gets in the way of the gameplay too much, you will have to switch games because then it's not going to be enjoyable either. One thing that I love to do is journaling in a foreign language. The way that I do it as a beginner is that I journal in my native language or in English or Italian, which are languages that I'm more advanced in, and then I add phrases or words in other languages. I know that this might not be the perfect way to learn, but trust me, it's a great way to reinforce the words that you are memorizing with other apps or textbooks or media that you're watching. So it's a way to process the input that you're getting into output and see how much you actually know. As I become more advanced, I will maybe do lists of what I did during the day in language that I'm like an upper beginner, lower intermediate, and as I advance more, I will just journal in other languages. I don't force it too much because I have all these languages in my head. I kind of just use the language that I'm feeling that day and include different words and different sentences in other languages as I go. Another alternative, if you do not like journaling or you do not like journaling in your target language, could be planning your day, filling in your bullet journal, making to-do lists, or making grocery lists. And these are nice ways to do a little bit of output into your day-to-day that doesn't really feel like studying. It more so feels like just doing things that you will do anyway. Going back to input, books and reading for fun, I find it to be one of the best ways to learn languages. It's basically how I learned Dutch, because I was going to school, but I wouldn't pay attention to school. Instead, I would read books in Dutch, and it definitely helped me so much into improving that language. Books is where I learn most of my vocabulary and grammar. There are many books I like. I will leave a link with the books that I normally read in foreign languages and that I highly recommend for you to try. The way that I pick a book is that I will read the first 5 pages. If I can understand 70 to 80% of those first 5 pages, I will consider to read that book in a foreign language. But if the 5 pages are too complicated, I do not understand what's going on in the first 5 pages, then I will not get that book because it's going to be too difficult for me at the moment. I either go to a library, check out the first 5 pages, or if you're doing it online, you can ask for a preview on like Amazon or something. Another thing I do, if I have a physical book, I will put a piece of paper inside and I will take note of words that come along. In books, normally a lot of words are repetitive because they're talking about the same topic, so it will work as a glossary for you as you go through the book. If you're doing digitally, you really don't need to do this because you will just mark down the words. You can take it a step further and do flashcards or whatever. I don't do these things. I only read for fun, and that helps me a lot. Last but not least, my favorite, absolute favorite to learn languages that feels the most natural, like not studying. It comes super easy, and it's the absolute most effective if by having conversation with friends. I know that it is easier said than done. Like, first of all, where do I get those friends? And second, how to talk to them. I have a few videos on how to find language exchange partners. You can check them out for sure, and you will get more information over there. So the way that I do this is that I will actually text friends in other languages. Sometimes I will send voice memos, or I will even call, see how they are doing, talk to them about life, the weather, hobbies, language learning, of course, always. It's a fun way to practice your target language. It's the most effective for sure. I find that texting via like Instagram DMs or Telegram or WhatsApp, whatever you use, it feels very natural. It's so much fun, and you get to know someone, you get to create connections, and you get an insight into the culture as well. So I find that when you mix all these things together, you get some powerful techniques. Of course, you can always complement with memorizing, with using apps, with using programs or other types of lessons. Like, don't limit yourself to only doing this. But if apart from your study sessions, you're doing all of these things, which are not very difficult to do, you're gonna find yourself learning so much faster than the rest, and it's gonna be super easy for you because the effort is gonna be minimal compared to spending hours and hours and ends on study. So try to have that balance between studying a little bit and doing things that are fun, entertaining, and that actually get you to use your target language. Now, I want to know which of these methods are your favorites. Mine are definitely watching TV shows and talking to people. Those are the 2 things that I will do no matter what in my target language. So let me know in the comments what your favorites are. All the links of anything I've mentioned is down below. And remember, you have 65% off of LingoPie in the yearly subscription. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.